So as you know that I have already started ISO 45001 lead auditor training, occupational health and safety management system. And so far I have covered clause number 7 and I have uploaded 2 videos. Okay, 2 parts I have already uploaded. If you haven't gone through those 2 parts, first and second part, please go through first and second part before you start this third part, because if you will start from this third part, it won't be easy for you to understand the occupational health and safety management system, which is the ISO 45001. So in my previous video I have covered clause number 7, and today I will start from clause number 8. So today I will finish our all the clauses, which is till 10 clause we have to cover. So let's start clause number 8. So yesterday in my second video we have covered till clause number 7, which is a resource, support, competence and communication. In clause number 7 we discussed yesterday. In this clause number 8, we will talk about operation. Before we start our training, I would like to request that if you haven't subscribed my channel, please subscribe my channel. And please provide your support so I can bring some important content and really interesting content which will be very helpful for your career and for your growth also. Okay, so let's start our clause number 8, which is operation. In this clause number 8, operation, planning and control, we're gonna look into the organization, how they're gonna implement. Now as you know that there are 4 cycle PDCA. Okay, plan, do, check and act. So clause number 4, 5, 6 and 7, these 4 clauses comes under plan. Now clause number 8, it is purely based on do. So whatever you are planning on clause number 4, 5, 6 and 7, that you have to implement in this clause number 8. So that is the main thing that you have to do. So this is the do part. Okay, clause number 8. So it's saying that the organization shall implement, control and maintain the process needed to meet requirements of the OHS management system and to implement the actions determined in clause number 6. So in this clause number 6, as you know that we have gone through the planning process, address the risk and set the objective and targets that we discussed and we covered in clause number 6. So whenever we are stabilizing any process or implementing any process, we have to make sure that we are taking into the concern about clause number 6. Okay, stabilizing criteria for the process, implementing control of the process in accordance with the criteria, maintaining and retaining documented information to the extent necessary to have confidence that the process have been carried out as planned. So whatever the process you will make, those process should be maintained as a documented information. Whenever the audit will be conducted by any certification body, you have to show these documents to them as a process. Adapting work to workers. At multi-employee workplaces, the organization shall coordinate the relevant parts of the OHS management system with the organizations, eliminating hazards and reducing OHS risk. So whatever things you have done at clause number 6, you have done the risk assessment at clause number 6. That risk assessment you have to implement now. So this is your do part. You have to implement on the ground. Okay, the organization shall establish, implement and maintain a process for the elimination of hazards, reduction of OHS risk using the following hierarchy of controls. So whenever you are implementing any controls, these are the things you have to concern. First, you know that ERIC PD we have to apply whenever we are implementing any control. So first we have to eliminate the hazard. Then we have to substitute with less hazardous processes, operations, materials or equipment. Use engineering controls and reorganization of work. Use administrative controls, including training, posters, so on. Use adequate personal protective equipment. So these are the control measures, and apart from these control measures, we have the disciplinary also that we can use also. In many countries, legal requirements and other requirements include the requirement that personal protective equipment is provided at no cost to workers. So whenever we are making any process regarding PPE, we have to especially mention that PPE will be provided without any cost to the workers. Okay, that is the requirement. Management of change. The organization shall establish process for the implementation and controls of planned, temporary, and permanent changes that impact OHS performance, including. So it is a new requirement in ISO 45001. If there is any changes in the organization, whether it is process related changes, whether it is service related changes, whether it is any machine related changes, whether it is management related changes, all these changes, for the to deal all these changes, you should have one process how to deal with these changes, how you're going to assess the risk related to these changes which can affect your occupational health and safety management system performance. Okay, so what you will include: new products, services, processes, changes to existing products, services, and process, including workplace location and surroundings if there is any changes, work organization if there are any changes in the work organization, work conditions, equipment, workforce, changes to legal requirements and other requirements that you have to consider also, changes in knowledge or information about hazards or OHS risk, developments in knowledge and technology. The organization shall review the consequences of unintended changes, taking action to mitigate any adverse effect as necessary. So how you can deal with the changes? So I will suggest you first make one SOP, a standard operating procedure, or like procedures SOP, we can say that one. And when you are making that SOP, you have to clearly define that what are the things you will consider for the planning of changes. These are the things, these are the minimum things that you can consider. Apart from these things, if you have any additional things, that also you can consider. After that, you can make the formats also, how you deal and how you would assess the changes for each particular item, legal requirements, services, workplaces. So all these things you can do. That we have the procurement. Clause number 8.4 and subclause 8.1.4.1. The organization shall establish, implement, and maintain a process. You should have a process to control the procurement of products and services in order to ensure their conformity to its OHS management system. So whatever the suppliers or the procurement that you are using or any contractors are there in your organization, you should have one process to make sure that how you're gonna control them, which will include the occupational health and safety management systems related requirements. Okay? Now, the contractors, the organization shall coordinate its procurement process with its contractors in order to identify hazards and assess and control the OHS risk arising from the contractor activities and operations that impact the organizations. Suppose you are using any contractors for any work activity, and by using those contractors, they are increasing the risk for your organizations. So before you start to work with these contractors, your requirements, health and safety related requirements, you have to consider, and you have to communicate with the contractors also to make sure that they comply with your requirement, OHS management system related requirements. And risk related to the contractors should be properly identified through the method of the statement, risk assessment, and those should be communicated with the contractors also and with the customer also. The organization's activities and operations that impact the contractors' workers. If your activities also that will affect contractors' workers also, those also need to be considered, and you have to communicate with the contractors also, because their health and safety also, it is your responsibility whenever they start work in your premises. The contractor's activity and operations that impact other interested parties in the workplaces. If the contractor activities and the operation, they will affect other interested parties in the workplace, that also need to be considered also. Let's say that contractor activities will impact your neighbors. That will affect the neighbors also. So that also need to be considered also and need to be communicated. The organization shall ensure that the requirements of its OHS management system are met by contractors and their workers. So you have to make sure that before you start any work, your contractors, they are meeting with your requirement or just related requirement. The organization's procurement process shall define and apply occupational health and safety criteria for the selection of contractors. So whenever you are choosing any contractor, there should be some selection criteria. Okay, how you gonna select the contractor? What is your requirement? Maybe you will check any certification, health and safety related certification. Maybe you will check that any insurance related requirements for the contractor. Maybe you will do the supplier selection criteria audit, pre-audit that you will do. And as per the audit, you will decide how many non-conformities, how many compliance are there. As per that, you will choose the contractor. So whatever your process to choose any supplier or contractor, that process should be identified and that should be followed whenever you are choosing any contractor, whenever you are selecting any contractor or supplier. Note, it can be helpful to include the occupational health and safety criteria for the selection of contractors in the contractual documents. Whenever you are starting any contract, make sure your health and safety related requirements should be included in the contract also. So the contractors, they need to fulfill by those requirements. So it would be very easy for you to maintain the health and safety and communicate with the supplier or contractor. Outsourcing. Clause number 8.1.4.3. The organization shall ensure that outsourced functions and processes are controlled. So if you are outsourcing any functions and process, let's say that you are outsourcing any cleaning service. So you have to make sure that you have some process in place and implemented that will control the outsource related activities or services. The organization shall ensure that its outsourcing arrangements are consistent with legal requirements. So whenever you are making any process related to outsource, that should consider the legal requirements also and other requirements, and with achieving the intended outcomes of OHS management system. The type and degree of control to be applied of these functions and processes shall be defined within the OHS management system. So whenever you are making any process, that should be defined how you're gonna control the outsource activities, or if you are giving any services to the outsourced company. Coordinations with external providers can assist an organization to address any impact that outsourcing has on its OHS performance. Now we have the clause number 8.2, emergency preparedness and response. So clause number 8.2, it is specifically talk about the emergency preparedness and response. The organization shall establish, implement and maintain a process needed to prepare for and the respond to potential emergency situations as identified in 6.1.2.1 including. So you should have one process you should have one process to deal with emergencies, scenarios, situations as identified in 6.1.2.1. You remember that 6.1.2 we during the planning stage, clause number 6, there we discuss about the issues that we have to consider. Apart from those, you have to include these things here. So it's saying they establish a planned response to emergency situations, including the provision of first aid. So how to deal with the first aid also, and what other things will included in the first aid cases that you need to include in the process. Providing training for the planned response, you should include how you're going to train the first aider, whether internal or external. So those things also need to consider. Providing training for the planned response, periodically testing and exercising the planned response capability. So you have to periodically testing and exercising the planned response. You should have a mock drill, okay, for these emergency scenarios. So whatever the emergency scenario you will identify, for those emergency scenarios, you should perform a mock drill. For example, medical drill, fire drill, chemical spill drill, vehicle breakdown drill. So whatever the emergency scenario you will identify, those emergency scenarios should be tested. How you gonna test it? Through the drill, through the exercise. Evaluating performance and as necessary, revising the planned response including after testing and in particular after the occurrence of emergency situations. So what you have to do, you have to evaluate whether your performance, it is acceptable, non-acceptable, is it good or not, whether your emergency scenarios preparedness plan needs some improvements also. So what are the things you identified during the mock drill, after the mock drill, those things also need to be considered. And if there is any changes required, those changes need to be done in your emergency preparedness plan or process. Communicating and providing relevant information to all workers on the duties and responsibilities. So whenever you are making employees job description, you have to include emergency scenarios related information in the job description also. And at the same time, you can communicate. If you are not communicating in that way, you can communicate through the TBT, through the notice board, through the posters, and different ways. Communicating relevant information to contractors. So if there is any relevant information which is need to be known by contractors, emergency related scenarios, those need to be communicated to the contractor, visitors, emergency response services like civil defense or any ambulance services, government authorities, and as appropriate, the local community. So the local community, they should be informed also, communicated also. Taking into account the needs and capabilities of all relevant interested parties and ensuring their involvement as appropriate in the development of the plan response. Whenever you are developing any emergency response plan, you have to take into the accounts the needs and capabilities of interested parties like your employees, your contractors, your visitors, maybe your facility used by the disabled people. So how you going to evacuate them during the emergency? So those requirements also you need to consider in your emergency preparedness plan. The organization shall maintain and retain documented information on the process and on the plans for responding to potential emergency situations. So you have to make a plan for emergency drills, when you're going to conduct and how frequently you're going to conduct the drills. And you should have a process also to deal with the emergency scenarios. So these are the requirements that we have to follow in clause number 8. That is purely based on do part, which is the operation. Now we finish the do. Once we doing all these things, what we have to do, we have to check. Okay? How are we going to check? We can check through the audit. We can check through the safety committee meeting, management review meeting. We can check through the inspection also, safety surveys also, and different other ways. So now we will do that part in clause number 9, which is a performance evaluation. We will check in the performance evaluation clause number 9. So clause number 9 specifically talk about the monitoring, measurement, analysis, and performance evaluation. The organization shall establish and implement and maintain a process for monitoring, measurement, and analysis and performance evaluation. So you should have a process in place and that should be implemented, established, and maintained. The organization shall determine what needs to be monitored and measured, including. So when you are making any process for the monitoring and measurement, you have to decide that what you're going to monitor, what you're going to measure, how you're going to do that. And when you are making that one, you should consider the extent to which legal requirements and other requirements are fulfilled. You need to consider the legal requirements also, which is required to monitor or inspection or audit. Its activities and operations related to identified hazards, risks, and opportunities. Progress towards achievements of the organization's objectives. Those also need to be considered when you are doing audit or inspection. Effectiveness of operational and other controls. These need to be considered. The methods of monitoring, measurement, analysis, and performance evaluation as applicable to ensure valid results. Whenever you are choosing any methods for monitoring, measurement, or analysis and performance evaluation, you have to choose the very adequate methods that can give you very good result. Okay, and that should be validated also. The criteria against which the organization will evaluate its OHS performance. When the monitoring and measuring shall be performed, it means you should have a plan when you're going to do that. How frequently you're going to do the performance evaluation, when you're going to do the safety committee meeting, when you're going to the management review meeting, when you're going to conduct like let's say audit. So all these things you have to consider. And the results from monitoring and measurement shall be analyzed, evaluated, and communicated. These also need to be considered. The organization shall evaluate the OHS performance and determine the effectiveness of OHS management system. So you have to evaluate. The organization shall ensure that monitoring and measuring equipment is calibrated or verified as applicable and is used as maintained appropriate. So if you are using any equipment that need to be calibrated, let's say lux meter, okay, any thermometer, so any gas tester, so all these equipment needs to be calibrated and these needs to be verified, and you should maintain a calibration record also. Okay? It is a requirement. There can be a legal requirement for other requirements, example national or international standards that you also can consider for the calibration or verification of monitoring and measuring equipment. The organization shall retain appropriate documented information. You have to maintain a document as evidence of the results of monitoring, measurement, analysis, and performance evaluation. So these are the requirements. The maintenance, calibration, or verification of measuring equipment. So these documents you have to maintain. After that, evaluation of compliance. The organization shall establish, implement, and maintain a process. So you have to maintain a process for evaluating compliance with legal requirements and other requirements. It's saying that 6.1.3, where we have talked about the objectives and targets, how you're going to check. The organization shall determine the frequency and method for the evaluation of compliance. When you are making the process, in the process, you have to identify clearly what is the frequency and what are the methods that you're going to check, that you're going to use for the evaluation. Evaluate compliance and take action if needed. Maintain knowledge and understanding of its compliance status with legal requirements and other requirements. Retain documented information of the compliance evaluation. Whenever you are doing any compliance evaluation, it means whenever you are doing monitoring or measuring and how you are doing, those documents should be maintained also. And that you need to present during the audit. 9.2 Internal audit. The organization shall conduct internal audits. So it is a requirement. You have to conduct audit, plan intervals to provide information on whether the OHS management system, plan intervals. So you have to make a plan for the audit, how frequently you're going to conduct it. Whenever you are conducting audit, you have to make sure the organization's own requirements for its OHS management system, including the OHS policies and OHS objectives, should be audited during the audit. You have to audit these things. The requirements of these documents need to be checked. Is effectively implemented and maintained, that you need to check during the audit. OHS management system. Internal audit program. So you should maintain a process for the internal audit program. The organization shall plan, establish, implement, and maintain an audit program, including the frequency. So you have to maintain a plan that need to include the frequency. Methods. What are the methods you're going to use for the audit? Responsibilities. Who is responsible for the audit? Consultation. During the audit, are you going to consultate with the people or not? Planning requirements and reporting, which shall take into the consideration the importance of the process, concern, and the results of previous audits. Define the audit criteria and scope for each audit. So whenever you are doing the audit, you have to define the audit criteria also and the scope for each audit. So how to do the audit, I will teach you in this document. ISO 19011, which is purely based on audit requirement, guidelines for auditing management system. So that I will teach you in this standard. Ensure that the results of audits are reported to relevant managers. So whenever you are doing the audit, it is not like that you do the audit and the audit reports and the findings you have to keep with you. It's not like that. That need to be communicated with the relevant managers. Ensure the relevant audit results are reported to workers also, where they exist, workers' representatives, and other relevant interested parties, maybe the contractors, maybe the employees, or maybe any visitors. So you need to communicate with them. Take action to address non-conformities and continually improve its OHS performance. So if there is any NCs, non-conformities, you have to take action to make sure that all the NCs, non-conformities are closed and control measures are implemented. You have to retain a documented information as evidence. Audit report need to be maintained as evidence of implementation of the audit program and the audit results. For more information on auditing of the program, competence of auditors, see 9000, 19011. As I said, I will discuss about this document later on. So then clause number 9.3, which is specifically talk about management review. So top management shall review the organization's OHS management system at planned intervals to ensure its continuing suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness. The management review shall include consideration of, so whenever you are doing the management review meeting, you should have a process in place and that should be implemented also. And I will suggest that you should do a management review meeting at least once in a year, and that should be done at the end of the year. Okay, so it is better you can perform your management review meeting in the month of December. So when you will do the month of December, so you have all the 11 months data with you, so you can review those findings. You review your performance, OHS management system performance, and that you can discuss. And for the next year, you can plan in this December month, and in the month of January, you can implement your plan. So whenever you are discussing management review meeting, you are conducting management review meeting, you have to consider these points. And in the management review meeting, in the agenda form, you have to include all these points. So I can say you that just copy all these points from here in this standard and you can paste in the agenda. So that will be easy for you. So when you are discussing these agendas and you are conducting a management review meeting, you need to consider the status of action from previous management reviews. So when you did the previous management review, those points also you need to include in this new meeting. And you need to revise those points. What is the status of these points? Whether those points close or not? Whether any points are open? What is the issue? Why those points are open? So all these things you need to explain or consider. Changes in internal and external issues that are relevant to OHS management system. So any internal and external issues that need to be included also. The needs and expectation of interested parties, legal requirements or other requirements, because the legal requirement and other requirements, customer requirements, those things change anytime. Risk and opportunities also. The extent to which the OHS policy and the OHS objectives have been met. You have to discuss about the OHS policy and the OHS objectives, whether you have achieved all the objectives and targets or not. If you didn't achieve, what is the issue? What are the resources you require to achieve them in the future? So all these things you need to discuss. Information on OHS performance, including trends in, you have to discuss about the incidents, non-conformities, corrective actions, continual improvement, monitoring and measurement results, results of evaluation of compliance with legal requirements and other requirements, audit results, if there is any audit, consultation and participation of workers, risk and opportunities, adequacy of resources for maintaining an effective OHS management system, relevant communication with interested parties, opportunity for continual improvement. So these are the things that you have to include in the agendas, and these are the inputs. When you will discuss all these things, so definitely that will come as an output. So when you are maintaining the outputs of the management review shall include decisions related to the continual suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness of OHS management system in achieving its intended outcomes. Continual improvements opportunities. After the meeting, what are the decisions has been taken for the continual improvement of OHS management system? Any need for changes to the OHS management system? Resource needed for the continual improvement. What are the decision has been taken? Actions if needed. Opportunities to improve integration of the OHS management system with other business processes. Any implications for the strategic direction of the organization. These are the things need to be discussed, and these in the output, these are the things should be included. These are the minimum requirement that you have to make sure that your management review meeting, minutes of meeting included these information. Top management shall communicate the relevant outputs of the management reviews to workers. So once you've done your management review meeting, it's need to be communicated with the workers also, down level staff. It's not only like that you will communicate, you will do the meeting with top level staff and you will take the decision, but you are not communicating to the down level staff. It should be communicated to the down level staff as well. And where they exist, workers representatives. Worker representatives also they can communicate. The organization shall retain the documented information as evidence of the results of management reviews. So you have to maintain a record that you need to show during the audit. Now we will move to clause number 10, which is improvement. So PDCA. So P, clause number 4, 5, 6, and 7. Clause number 8, which is a do. C, check. Clause number 9. Now we have to act, which is a clause number 10. So clause number 10 is an act part for the improvement. The organization shall determine opportunities for improvement, C, implement and the necessary actions to achieve the intended outcomes of its OHS management system. Now, how you can improve, how your business can improve, your OHS management system, how it can improve. Incident, non-conformity, and corrective action. The organization shall establish, implement, and maintain a process. So there should be one process to deal with reporting, investigation, taking action, determine and manage incident and non-conformities. How you're going to deal with the incidents, how you're going to deal with the non-conformities, all these things need to be included in your process. When an incident or non-conformity occurs, the organization shall, if there is an incident or NC is there, react in a timely manner to the incident or non-conformity as applicable, take action to control or correct it. If there is an NC or any incident, you have to take action to control and you have to correct it also. Deal with the consequences also. Evaluate with the participation of workers. So whenever you are doing any incidents, investigations, or any control measure you are implementing, you have to involve the workers also. And the involvement of other relevant and interested parties. The need for corrective actions to eliminate the root cause of the incident or non-conformity in order that it does not reoccur or occur elsewhere. By investigating the incident or reviewing the non-conformity, determining the cause of the incident or non-conformity, determining if similar incident have occurred, if non-conformity exists, or if they could potentially occur. So all these things you need to consider when you are doing any investigation and you are taking control measures. Review existing assessment of OHS management system risk and other risk as appropriate. Determine and implement any action needed, including corrective action in accordance with the hierarchy of control measures that we have discussed in clause number 8.1.2 and the management of change in 8.1.3. Assess OHS risk that relate to new or changed hazards prior to taking action. Review the effectiveness of any actions taken, including corrective action that you have to review also. Make changes to OHS management system if necessary. If there is any changes required in OHS management system, that you have to also consider. Corrective action shall be appropriate to the effects or potential effects of the incidents and non-conformities encountered. When you are taking any corrective actions, you have to make sure that those corrective actions are effective and they can remove the root cause also, and in the future any reoccurrence incident will not reoccur again. That you have to consider when you are taking any corrective action. The organization shall retain documented information as evidence of. You have to maintain our documents. The nature of the incidents or the non-conformities and any subsequent action taken. If there is any NC, incident, accidents, and you took some actions, the document should be maintained for this purpose. The results of any actions and corrective action, including their effectiveness, that also documents need to maintain. The organization shall communicate this documented information to relevant workers. So once you've done all the investigations, any NCs, corrective action you took, control measures implemented, that need to be communicated to the workers also. So they should be aware what are the action has been taken and what are the control measures are there in the workplace. Where they exist, worker representatives need to be communicated also, or other relevant interested parties as well. The reporting and investigation of incidents without undue delay can enable hazards to be eliminated and associated OHS risk to be minimized as soon as possible. So whenever there is any incident or non-conformities, you have to take the action as soon as possible. If you will get delay, there are some other hazards or risks may arise. Continual improvement 10.3. The organization shall, so it is a requirement, continue to improve the suitability, efficacy, and effectiveness of OHS management system. You have to make sure that your OHS management system is continually improving and it is suitable for your business. It is adequate and effective for your business, your risk, and your workplace and your employees, for your employees. By how you can do that? Enhancing OHS performance, promoting a culture, health and safety culture in your organization, promoting the participation of workers, consultation of workers, communicating the relevant results of continual improvement to the workers where they exist, worker representatives, maintaining and retaining documented information as evidence of continual improvement. So these are the ways you can use for the continual improvement. So that's all for clause number 10, and we have completed this training for ISO 45001. So as you know that there were total 10 clause. So clause number 1 to 10, but clause number 1, 2, 3 are not important. There is only scope and reference is there. So which and the definition is there. So these three clause number 1, 2, 3 are not audited. The auditor, they're not going to audit you. They will audit you for the 7 clauses. Clause number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. After that, we have Annex 1, guidance on the use of this document. How you can use this document. It will give you some information also. Normative reference, terms and definitions are there also. Context of the organization, understanding the organization and its context. If you don't know what is the context of the organization and what are the external issues, such as these are the external issues, it will tell you. Okay, cultural, social, political, legal, financial, technological, economic, natural surroundings. So these are the external issues. Internal issues such as governance, organizational structures, roles, responsibilities, capabilities, introduction of new products, materials, services, tools, software. Okay. After that, understanding the needs and expectation of workers and others interested parties. Legal and who are your interested parties. So this will tell you who is your interested parties. So you can get some more ideas. Determining the scope of OHS management system. About this one, about the scope, I already explained you what are the businesses your organization is performing and the activity is performing. Let's talk about that thing. Then we have the OHS management system. Leadership, commitment, OHS policy, we talk about already. Organizational roles, responsibility also, consultation, planning. So after clause number 10, it will give you more information. So more detailed way it will tell you when you have to maintain these requirements. Okay. So let's move forward. Awareness, communication, clause number 7, it is explaining in a more detailed way. And we have bibliography. So what are the bibliography has been used here? Like 9000 ISO 9001, 9000 2015 quality management system, road traffic safety. So the ILO, International Labour Organization, OSHA's 18001 occupational health and safety management system, which is the old one, and OSHA's 18001. So that's all for this training, and I will give you some important information how you can memorize these clauses. Okay. So as I told you that there are only 7 clauses which we need to audit. So we have the context of the organization, the first one. Then we have the leadership. Then we have a P, planning. Then we have the support. Okay. So these clauses will come under plan. Then we have O. And I, improvement. So that's all for today training. In my next training video, I will start ISO standard 19011, and in that training, I will teach you how to do the audit and what are the requirements that you have to follow during the audits, whether you are conducting any internal audit or external audit. So that's all from my side for this video. I hope you like this video and information which I have shared with you. And please do not forget to subscribe my channel if you haven't done so far. And please do share with your friends and colleagues as well. And please show your support. Thank you so much. See you in the next video.